There's a moment your plans stop sounding real. You say it again, and this time, they don't react the same. Maybe it's dinner, maybe it's coffee, maybe it's just a casual conversation that turns quiet for half a second. You say, "I'm finally going to start," or "This month I'm going all in," or "I've got a real plan now." And they nod, but not like before. No one challenges you. No one laughs. That would almost be easier. It's smaller than that. Their faces stay polite. Their questions don't come. That little spark of interest is gone. They've heard this before, and your words land lighter than they used to. That shift is brutal because on your side, it still feels real. Saying it out loud gives you a hit of certainty. For a moment, you feel clearer, more focused, more like the kind of person who is actually moving. Oh, so you keep doing it. You talk about the routine before the routine exists. You talk about the business before the work is ugly. You talk about the change, but your days look no different. And each time, it feels like progress. Until enough time passes. Nothing really moves. Then you bring it up again, and the room tells you something before anyone says a word. They are still listening, just with less weight. It doesn't break all at once. It starts in a normal moment. You're sitting at a table. Food is still there. Someone asks what you've been up to, and you feel that opening. So you say it. You say you're changing your routine. You say you're waking up earlier. You say you're building something serious now. You say this next season is going to look different. And while you're talking, you can feel yourself becoming that version for a second. That is the part people miss. The sentence gives you the feeling the discipline was supposed to give you. Your body relaxes a little. Your voice gets stronger. You start talking like the work is already alive. But it isn't. Not yet. You have one notebook page, one clean idea, one emotional burst from last night, and now it's out in the room like it already has proof behind it. Someone says, "That's good." Someone else says, "Nice, man." Maybe they even ask one question, and you take that reaction as fuel. So later that night, the pressure drops. You already felt seen. You already felt like a person with direction. You already borrowed some of the reward. Then the hard part shows up. The early alarm, the ugly first draft, the empty gym, the second day when no one is watching. And your energy is lower now, not higher, because you spent some of it talking. That's the first mistake. You let the announcement do what only private action should do. So make the first move smaller. Work in silence first. Let the plan touch your days before it touches your mouth. And this is where the pattern starts repeating, not with one big lie, with small hopeful updates. A few days later you mention it again, not because someone asked deeply, just because you want to keep the identity alive. So you say, "Yeah, I'm still on it," or "I've been working on a lot," or "Big things are coming." It sounds harmless, but the room is already comparing your words to what they've seen before. That's the shift. The first time, people hear the possibility. The second or third time, they start listening for proof. And when proof never arrives, your words begin to stretch too far. You start speaking in previews. You talk about what you're about to do, what you're planning to launch, what you're getting serious about, what you've been thinking a lot about lately. Thinking, planning, about to, soon. Future tense starts doing too much lifting, and people feel that. Not always consciously, but they feel it. You become the person who is always about to, always close, always resetting, always describing motion instead of showing it. That's why the reaction gets thinner. Less follow-up, less curiosity, less investment. Not because they hate you, because they are adjusting. They are learning that your words arrive earlier than your discipline does. And once people learn that, they stop putting real weight on what you say. This is the quiet loss. Like no argument, no confrontation, just a slow drop in seriousness. So the Stoic move here is not to defend your intention. It is to stop feeding the pattern. Do less public forecasting. Let people find out late. Let your life interrupt the conversation, not your announcements. But the real damage is social, because people start reading you differently, not loudly, quietly. You're talking to a friend, or a cousin, or someone at work between two random topics. You bring up the new plan again, and watch what happens. They don't lean in. They don't ask, "When are you starting?" They don't say, "Send it to me when it's ready." They just give you that safe little nod, that polite sound people make when they don't want to challenge you, but they also don't want to invest. That lands harder than criticism, because now the room is not resisting you. It is downgrading you. This is where everything shifts. At first, your words made people picture movement. Now your words make them wait for the pattern. They hear ambition, but they also hear a familiar gap. And once that gap becomes familiar, your voice loses force even outside that topic. That's the part people don't notice. It doesn't stay trapped inside the plan. It bleeds into your presence. When you speak, there is a little less pull, a little less trust, a little less assumption that your words mean action. You can feel it in the way people respond. Shorter, lighter, safer. They are no longer standing near your intention. They are standing back, waiting to see if this one disappears too. That is a brutal social read. Not, "He's a bad person," just, "Yeah, we'll see." And once people start meeting your words with "we'll see," you are already losing authority, so stop trying to sound committed. Be committed long enough that people have to revise you upward, and this is where the stakes get higher. Because after a while, you are not just talking to them, you are talking past your own evidence. You know the plan has not held. You know the work is inconsistent. You know some of what you are saying belongs to the version of you that only exists for 10 excited minutes. Still you say it. That creates a strange pressure. Now you have to carry two things at once: the image you gave people and the reality you keep waking up in. That split wears you down fast. You tell someone, "Yeah, I'm locked in now." Then the next morning, you hit snooze, skip the session, delay the thing again, open your phone, tell yourself you will start later. And the problem is not only that you slipped, it is that your words are now sitting out there ahead of your character. That is where it gets dangerous, because the more public the promise, the more private shame starts building. You see the same people again. Now there is that tiny second before they ask how it's going, or maybe they do not ask at all. And somehow that feels worse, because silence starts exposing what your announcement was trying to cover. This is the part people miss. Early talk does not just risk embarrassment. It makes you fragile. You become emotionally dependent on the future version of yourself, saving the reputation the current version keeps spending. That is too much pressure for a plan. So change the order. Do not speak to create pressure. Create proof. Let the pressure come from repetition, from getting up again, so from doing the boring part again. Words should confirm the work, not replace it. And after a while, the damage turns inward, because now it is not just other people who hear your words differently. You do too. You say, "I'm serious this time," and some part of you flinches. That is a hard feeling, when your own sentence does not fully land inside your own body. You want to believe in yourself, but memory is sitting there. The Monday you announced a reset. The week you said you were done wasting time. The month you talked about discipline like it had already moved in. Nothing dramatic happened. No public collapse. No one stood up and called you fake. It was quieter than that. You just kept hearing yourself make promises your habits could not carry. That creates a private kind of weakness. Now, every new plan comes with friction. And not because the goal is wrong, because your mind has heard the performance before. This is where most people make it worse. They feel the doubt, so they rush back into words. They tell someone new, post something bold, talk bigger, try to create one more burst of identity. But that only deepens the split, because every time you speak from the future without evidence in the present, you teach yourself not to trust your own voice. That is the real loss. Not just that, but other people stop taking your plans seriously. You stop feeling clean inside your own commitments. So the Stoic shift here is brutal, but simple. Say less until your own mind starts believing you again. Keep one promise quietly, then another. Let self-trust come back in private before you ask the world to witness anything. Someone asks, "Nar, so what are you working on now?" Old you would have opened everything. The plan, the timeline, the bigger vision, the version of your life that sounds strong in conversation before it becomes strong in reality. Because that used to give you something. The look in their eyes, the follow-up questions, that quick hit of feeling like you were finally becoming someone. But this time, you feel the urge and do not feed it. You say, "I'm working on a few things," or "still on it." And then you stop. That silence feels strange at first. Too short, too plain, almost like you wasted a chance to sound serious. But that is the shift. You stop using conversation to generate momentum the work has not earned. You stop spending the reward early. Someone waits like there should be more. You do not rush to fill the space. Out of the room moves on. No big reaction. No little identity high. No borrowed sense of progress. Just air. And that matters. Because every time you do not turn the plan into performance, you stop teaching yourself that attention is movement. Now the pressure goes where it should have been all along. Into tomorrow morning. Into the boring rep. Into doing it again when nobody asks. That is how credibility comes back. Not when you sound more committed. When your words stop running ahead of your habits. And this is where the correction becomes visible. Not when you sound better. When people no longer have to imagine it. A little time passes. You keep getting up. You keep working. You keep the plan off your tongue and inside your days. Then something small changes. The draft exists. The routine holds. As the work starts leaving signs behind. Now when someone asks about it, the tone feels different. Not polite curiosity. Real weight. What are you building? How long have you been on it? Let me know when it's ready. That shift matters, because now attention is arriving after proof, not before it. And you feel the difference too. No flinch. No urge to enlarge it. No need to make the next sentence carry your identity. You are not trying to sound committed anymore. You are speaking from something that has already cost you effort. That is how credibility returns. Quietly. First in your habits, then in your voice, then in the way people listen longer when you say less. So let action carry the weight. Let repetition do the convincing. By the time you finally say something real, it does not need decoration. It lands once, and it stays there. Your plans did not lose weight all at once. They got lighter every time your mouth arrived before your habits did. That is the real loss. Not that people doubted you, that your words stopped carrying force. Because people do not trust what sounds exciting. They trust what keeps showing up. So stop trying to sound like the future version of you. Protect that version. Build it where nobody claps. And let the next thing people hear from you be something that already has proof under it.